name's Ernie Lake. Currently, I obviously reside here in Lexington, Kentucky. I have lived here for the majority of my life. I did about I want to say it's 7 years, I think it was 6 or 7 year stint when I was very young in Korea. I'm half Korean. My mother was Korean, my father was American. We stayed there because he was stationed over there at the time, and then we came back to the States, and I've pretty much been here ever since. It was tough, I'll say that. Like, you know, I'm older now, so it doesn't matter, but when I grew up, it was culturally a little bit different than it is now, because I'm pushing 50, you know. It's like I grew up at a different time, you know, than some of these younger guys. I was the only person of Asian descent, you know, in a whole school system at one time. Got picked on quite a bit when I was like little. But to be honest with you, I got picked on quite a bit when I was in Korea. I wasn't full Korean, and they looked at me different. Then just kind of sucked because it kind of went both ways, you know. But I mean, you get older, and you know, I just look at it as like a testing ground. It was like, it hardened me. It was like a, you know, forging process. That's the kind of way I look at it. But as you get older, you know, the good thing was I hit a growth spurt, and it seems like all that stuff kind of went away on its own for some reason.
Before Filipino martial arts, did you study any other systems?
I did, Taekwondo. That was my first, shocker, right? Half Korean kid. And the funny thing is like, I look at like kids, I've seen like kids' classes in Taekwondo here, and like over there, it's like completely different. Like, I have a vivid memory of just little snippets of my life, that, because I'm obviously so young when I was over there. I think we moved there when I was like 5, and I stayed there till I was like, I don't know, like 7 or 8 or something like that. But like, I remember doing like push-ups in the snow on concrete, like, you know, and stuff like that. And you're like, I was little, like I was a child, you know, but I remember doing stuff like that. It was wild. Yeah, it was fun. But and then I came to the States, and then obviously, like most things, you just, if you don't do it, out of sight, out of mind, you just lose it, you know.
So your Korean martial arts training in Korea is different from United States?
Oh yeah, from what I've seen. Okay. It's a little bit more intense, I'll just say that. But it's a different mindset. It's just different. Just like, I'm sure, like training in the Filipino martial arts here in the United States is obviously very different than training it in the Philippines. Filipino martial arts wise, I started studying with Guro Dan in his system, which comprises obviously a great many other systems, but I've always kind of explained it as he takes those systems and he kind of used his distillation process, and through his own lens gave you an interpretation of those systems, you know, which I thought was really neat. It was very, you know, very JKD of him, you know, which I thought was really cool, and that was my first exposure to it. I actually got very heavily, you know, into that, and then I still study, you know, his methodology. Still try to use and take that things that I learned through different systems and throw them through my own distillation process, and just kind of, you know, try to show them that, and my students, that this is my interpretation of it. You may go to the art and find just something completely different. You may find something that's very close to the way I look at it, you know. But I always tell people, because he tells us as instructors, go back to the source. So like, he recommended Sayoc Kali to me, so I started studying Sayoc Kali for a little bit. I was then for several years, and then I kind of moved away and did I moved more toward FCS Kali. So that's kind of I guess the big 3 for me when it comes to the Filipino martial arts. And then I actually, in the last like 7 to 8 years, I started studying Pakiti Tertia. So I'm an instructor under Jared Wahongi in the PTTA, and I'm also an instructor in TRICOM. I can't remember what exact rank I was, but I was, I think, an associate instructor under Pamana Tuhon Chris Sayoc, rest in peace. I was looking for places to train in Florida, because obviously I live in Kentucky. You know, Florida, 11 and a half, 12-hour drive if I'm booking it, you know, if I'm really pushing it. And I was like, I was visiting my dad. He lived in Haines City, Florida, which is maybe like an hour outside of Disney. I'm like, surely to God there's a Sayoc instructor down there, because I would visit my dad at least twice a year. I'm thinking, why not use the time while I'm there to get a little training in? So I got on the Sayoc website and I was like, Ray Dionaldo. It was like, but back then it was Guro Ray Dionaldo. I drove down there. I gave him a call actually, because he taught on just like 2 separate days during the week. I think one of them was a Wednesday, and I remember I called him. I said, I'm coming down this Wednesday. Is it okay that I just drop in? He's like, absolutely, no problem. What's your name? I'll look for you, blah, blah, blah. You hear the old war stories. He was teaching out of like this garage, and there was like a chop shop, like three garages down. And, you know, it was kind of in the hood, but, you know, we loved it back then. It was just awesome. Like, it was hot, it was sweaty, and it was old school training, you know. But the funny thing was like, he was listed under the Sayoc instructor list, right? So I went to him and I said, hey, I was wondering if you could teach me Sayoc. And he's like, well, I can do some of that, but I kind of have my own thing that I actually do. I was like, okay. Like, it didn't even, I was like, absolutely, no problem, you know. I was an open book, so I just said, you know, teach me. So that's kind of that was my introduction to FCS. So over 20 some odd years, the differences in training?
Training and growth of the organization.
Oh, the growth has been astronomical, it just seems like, you know. I wouldn't say I've been amazed though. It's been expected. You know, it's been crazy, but because anybody who spends a little bit of time with Ray, you know, and gets a feel for him as an instructor, and you know, don't even talk about the material, just him as an instructor, the way he teaches, the way he thinks. If you spend a good little bit of time with him, you'll understand that he's the real deal. Here's how I explained it to people. There have been 4 people who have made me completely drop my jaw. Like wow. Like, it's like, you know what I'm saying? So that wow moment, I've had it 4 times. The first time was Guru Inosanto. The second time was Tuhon Ray Kali. The third time was Pamana Tuhon Ray Sayoc. And then the 4th time was Ray Dionaldo. Like, you know what I mean? Like, completely slack-jawed, what did I just see? You know, type of thing.
You got striking options here?
I got that in the Philippines. I had never been to the Philippines. I was wanting to go very badly, and then Tuhon started to have camps in the Philippines. It was pre-COVID, and now that COVID's kind of run its course, hopefully, then he's going to start that back up as well, starting to do these Philippine camps again. In Boracay is where you know, where we've been doing those. I went out for his wedding, and I was a groomsman in his wedding, and stayed in Manila for about a week and a half, and then we went out to Boracay, and it was beautiful. But that's where I got my Lakan, you know, and it was like the way we do things. There are set curriculum and boundaries up through the rank of Mano, which kind of means like it's weird because other systems don't use our same terminology. Like, our system is a little bit different than others because that just kind of means like an elder, you know. In certain dialects, it just means elder or like an older person or whatever. But in our system, that's just instructor, our instructor rank. Our guru rank is actually a higher level instructor. And then there's Lakan, which is our master instructor. So we don't go by Tuhon would be a master instructor in Pakiti Tertia, you know, or in, like, say, Sayoc Kali or something like that. But our master instructor rank is Lakan. Guru, which is actually in other systems, that's actually a basic instructor. So it's like, it's kind of hard to make out, but we don't really care. When it comes to that, our students understand the ranking structure. And how it happened is it is completely, like, it's up to Ray. Like, there's no, hey, I feel like I'm ready, you know, or like he knows, he tells you when you're ready. Because even when you don't, even when you think he's not paying attention to you, he's paying attention. He sees a lot more than I think people give him credit for. Very, very intuitive teacher. It's almost like he senses what you need from him. And I try to pattern myself as much as I can after him when it comes to that sort of thing. Once I started training with Ray in Florida, my association with Sayoc kind of ended, and then I just kind of took the ball and ran with it when it came to FCS, and he kind of gave me his blessing to start teaching his material, and I did because the way I ran a class was I just ran a Filipino martial arts class. Like there wasn't any title listed with it, and I just blended. I just taught a blend of things, like very, very JKD-ish, That was because, like I said, he was my first instructor. Guro Dan was my first FMA instructor, so it's like I had a need to continue that way of thinking. So I just kind of blended what I learned from that, what I learned from other systems, and just kind of threw it together. And I would tell my students, I'm like, if you're wanting one particular thing, I can try to do that, but that's really not how this is going to go. So I'm going to give you a little bit of everything and kind of shoot out a blend of stuff. And I did to my students what I've been taught by Guro Dan was, if you want to and you feel the need to, it's best to go to the source. So I always told them it's good, and they have. Like I've had guys that have trained under me, and they've gone on to and left, and they've went and they've sought out other instructors in different systems and tried to learn on their own. I'm like, yes, I love that.
Are you like the only guy here that's teaching FMA at the moment?
I can't really say for sure. I know that there was a school in Richmond for a long time. That's actually where I first started learning the Inosanto method. And I know that there was a school out in Bowling Green, which is out in western Kentucky. So it's like 4.5 hour drive from here, something like that. So it's a ways. Because Kentucky's like a long state. It's not very tall. It's just very long. So it's few and far between. The answer is few and far between. It's not a whole lot of people. Ray's been doing training camps for a long time, a lot longer than 11 years ago. That's when this started. Now I look back at this when I say this and I laugh a little bit, because in my head I didn't want to waste his time. Does that make sense? Like, I don't want to try to bring him up here and then not be able to fulfill my part of it and bring enough people to where he's making money, and I didn't want any kind of money to come out of his pocket and that sort of thing. So I just put it off for years and years. I'm like, man, I'm not going to have Ray in Kentucky. I can't get enough people to it, And then we were out after training in Florida one time. And after a few beers and, your tongue loosens up a little bit, and I'm like, Ray, I'd really love to have you come down, but I just can't. I want to make it worth your time. And he looks at me, he's like, if it's just you and me, it's worth my time. And I was just like, you know what I mean? Like, how many people would do that? How many people would say that? So I was like, all right. So we had our first camp, 11 years ago, and I remember there was maybe 6 people there, and he taught it like, there could have been 70 people there. It made no difference. He blew our minds for I think we did 3 days back then. Now it's a 4-day camp. We go Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
So what can people expect at these training camps?
Wow, man. A lot. The first day is always empty hand, mano mano. The second day is always stick. And that could be double stick, that could be single stick, whatever. The third day is always some type of blade. And then the fourth day is usually open to anything else. It's pretty much, the gloves are off on the fourth day. You can do any kind of you can ask questions. He will take requests. We will delve into the subsystems of FCS, like sarong. We did some tapada, just little staff here, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. That's the format. A lot of late nights, you can expect that. We do like to have our fun. As we gotten older, it's calmed down a little bit, but every now and then we just get this injection of youth, and all of a sudden it's like a continuous cycle. It just, it ramps up, and then it kind of calms down, and then it ramps up again. It just, it's good because you're constantly bringing in new students. They're constantly testing. That's one of the things that I've prided myself on this event is people come for the information, but they come back because of tribe. Challenges is still the fact that it's just not a well-known art. It's a lot more well-known than it used to be. My work schedule's kind of made it hard for me because I can't openly teach like classes like I used to. I used to teach like classes twice a week, and I was also teaching Muay Thai here. But I no longer have the time to do that. So I have to, a lot of what I do now is through private trainings. It's been a different type of challenge. Just the fact that, I always tell people life gets in the way. Like if we were all independently wealthy, we could train as much as we want. We can do whatever we want and it'd be awesome, But unfortunately, that's not the case for the majority of us.
I mean, I've interviewed and met a lot of FMA instructors, and they also have their day jobs. And it's tough to have to actually run a school purely run on FMA. I've only seen maybe 2 or 3.
I've had people come to me and go, I will back you. And I've turned them down. You want to know why? I love the Filipino martial arts. It is a part of me. The minute it is my job, I'd be scared that would go away. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I'm a nurse. That is my job. This is what I love. You know what I mean? So I don't want that to change. That's the dynamic that I don't want to change. I don't want to walk into a school that I'm running 10 years from now thinking that's the dream and going, oh, I really don't want to teach this class tonight. I just don't want to be that guy. And I've never gone like, God, I don't want to teach this private today.
I enjoy what I'm doing, making videos, because that's my first degree was in fine arts and video. And then,
oh, okay.
And then I got my master's in education. Burned down the education field. I'm like, I don't want to be a teacher anymore.
That's wild. This is funny. It's kind of ironic because because I went back to school. My first degree was teaching. And I went back to school. I went to nursing. So, and people look at me and they're like, oh, so you didn't use your degree, huh? I'm like, I wouldn't say that. I was like, I've always been a teacher. I just didn't teach it in a middle school, in an elementary school, or high school.
So, Kentucky Fried Chicken, does it taste better here?
God, you had to ask me about Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Well, it's the same thing. It's like Jollibee here in the States.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Okay, I got you. Okay, that's true.
Yeah, it's different. Like
Every time somebody mentions Kentucky Fried Chicken, because when I'm around, they always mention it. They're like, oh, yeah, Kentucky. I bet you like Kentucky Fried Chicken. Like thinking they're funny. Like I haven't heard that like 8 million times. But it's very good. I'll say that, I'm partial to it, but I haven't eaten it in a very long time. To be honest, it used to be my hangover cure.
Okay.
Me and a buddy would, if we had tied one on when we were in college, we would go to a Kentucky Fried Chicken buffet, which they had here. Yeah.